So welcome everybody to this latest Macklin's Take YouTube episode with me, Andy Clarke and Matt Macklin, and our special guest today, Darren Barker, who we just finished recording the audio podcast with. That will be out on March the 16th, so look out for that one. Now, one of the great tragedies of recent times in British boxing is the fact that, British and Irish boxing, I should say, is the fact that Darren, Matt, Martin Murray and Andy Lee never managed to end up in the ring against each other. So what we're going to do here is we are going to recreate, in terms of punditry, fantasy fights between those four. There's no point me asking these two who would have won if they boxed each other, because we all know what they're going to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Darren who would have won in Macklin versus Murray and Macklin versus Lee. And I'm going to ask Matt who would have won in Barker versus Murray and Barker versus Lee. And then they could both have their say as to who would have won in Murray versus Lee. So this is going to be great fun, for me at least. So I'll start with Matt. Okay, Matt. Barker versus Murray. Nice and quick, nice and snappy. No sitting on the fence, no fucking around with, on the one hand this, but on the other hand that. We're
going to ask you after.
I'll just hit stop on record.
Do you know what? I really don't know. And I'm not just saying it to be a shithouse to sit on the fence. I don't know. I think, Darren was definitely the better hand speed, the boxer and all that, definitely. But Murray was strong, he was tight defensively, and he could do those 12 rounds brilliantly. I don't know if he was fitter than any of us, but I think he just paced it so well. He knew how to do it. I got to be honest, and I can say, you know me, Andy, I'll say my opinion. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know. I think Darren was the better boxer, but I think Murray, he was tight, man. He had that defence, and I think Murray was the one that was the most easy to underestimate.
Okay, well, there was always going to be a little bit of pleading the fifth here, so I will allow it. I'm not going to be too hardcore. So, Darren, Macklin against Murray.
Yeah, I'm with Matt on that again. It's a tough one, but I think if I was to, it's hard because I don't want to be critical of anybody, because what gives me the right. But for the sake of this, if I was to look at that fight, I think Matthew would have won, and I'm not just saying it's just, I think he would have won on points on a close one. I just think if Martin was guilty of something, he was one-paced. He wouldn't go through the gears, whereas Matt would have, and I think he may have won some of the rounds because of the work rate. And I think, in a very entertaining fight, I think Matt nicks that one on points just through volume. And that's not being disrespectful to anyone there. I just think, I think work rate would have won that.
See, this is how you do it, Macklin. But Darren's just he's just picked us a winner there. So he's out punditing you at the minute in a pundit battle.
I can't ever see Martin Murray in the streets ever again now, can I?
That's a dangerous thing to have to say. In a punditing battle, you didn't meet in the ring, but you're being out pundited, Macklin, at the minute by Darren Barker. So next one for you, Matt. This is Barker versus Andy Lee.
I think Barker. I think Andy Lee. Which is quite funny because I know Andy Lee beat Darren Barker in the amateurs.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't know. Andy was hot and cold as a professional. I think there was a lot of performances where he had so much promise and looked so good early doors, but there were a lot of fights he had to pull it out against Craig McEwen. He was losing that fight, but he did always have that. I think with someone like Andy Lee, you could never ever switch off because he had that equaliser and he had it late on.
Yeah, he did.
He carried the power into the later rounds. Like I say, he got Craig McEwen out of there when he had to get him out of there. So, he definitely couldn't afford to switch off. But I think as long as he didn't get caught, I think he'd win on points.
So there you go. You see, he's followed your lead there, Darren. He doesn't want to be shamed on the punditry stakes. He's raised his game. So Darren, Macklin against Andy Lee.
Yeah, it all depends. It would all depend on what Andy showed up. I agree with Matthew there. He was hot and cold when he was good. He was really good, and when he was bad, he struggled. Yes, it's a tough one. I'll probably Look, now I'm stumped. Now I'm stumped. Yeah. Again, it could. I think Matthew, like when he got into a rhythm and he was allowed to let his hands go and work, I think he would have been too strong and aggressive for Andy. It's a brilliant, again, when I said before, it's a brilliant, I think all of the styles gel, but I just think I've got to look at it as both fighters 100% bringing their A game. And I think Matthew, again, it sounds like I'm only saying you had a mad engine and you had an amazing work rate, but it was more than that. There's a lot more than that. But I just think he was so busy that, and you could punch so hard. I think as long as you was tight and didn't allow Andy to find that equaliser, then yeah, I think Matthew.
Okay, so
I feel like a bottle job here. I feel like I've just said Matthew twice because he's in front of me.
I was just going to say, you'll be very kind to Macklin here. He's sitting there.
You know what though? I think in all the fights, any sort of outcome, bar, I don't think there was ever a chance of me stopping Martin Murray, and me stopping people. But I think any outcome in any of those fights wouldn't surprise me. Like Matthew to beat everyone, Martin to beat everyone, Andy to beat everyone in certain different ways. I just feel they would have gelled. I think they were brilliant fights. It's such a shame they never happened.
So one more, last one then. Matt, you first. Martin Murray against Andy Lee.
I think Andy Lee. I think Martin used to kind of be a bit, you go, I go, you go. He's so tight defensively. He'd wait for you to finish punching, then he'd go back at you. But with Andy being the tall southpaw and keeping with that southpaw jab, because he's a right-handed southpaw as well, Andy Lee. I don't know if he could have put it on him. I don't know. It's a tough one because I think Martin was the best without a doubt in terms of defence and pace in the 12 rounds. But I think he was so good at pacing it. But I think sometimes it was his undoing.
Yeah,
he should have gone for it more.
That was his problem.
Yeah, like the Sergio Martinez fight. He probably should have got that decision, but he definitely should have won it. He should have, the way he kind of let Martinez close out. I thought you let that slip away, even though he should have got it. But I thought he should have cemented it. I think if that was me, I'd have gone out there all guns blazing. Do you know what I mean? In that last round, where I thought, what I mean is, Martin's strength, his power was his poison. His strength, where he was good at, taking his time, being patient, conserving energy, pacing it. He was unbelievable at doing that. Definitely the best out of all of us. But I think at times he was too patient. He was too calculated. He conserved energy. Sometimes you just got to go for it. And I think that was his undoing at times.
So, Darren, final one for you as well. Same fight, Murray against Lee.
Yeah, as long as Andy didn't get backed up onto the ropes and he allowed space behind him, I think he could have won that on points. And I agree with Matt there. Defensively, Martin was on point. He had such a good, he curled himself up so well, and he was so hard to hit clean head and body. It was just the tempo let him down at times. And I think Andy, when he got in the rhythm behind his jab and he got the shots off, as long as he didn't get backed onto the ropes and allow Martin to work away, I think Andy can nick that one.
Okay.
I've got to say, Martin Moore should have been a world champion, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, he went so close.
Yeah.
For him not to get the rub of the green once, Martinez, Sturm, and Arthur Abraham, for him not to get the rub of the fair enough, Golovkin, but those three ones which were close, for him not to get the rub of the green once, you know what I mean? He was so unlucky.
Yeah, the same with yourself, though, mate. I think we should have all been sat down, the four of us, as world champions, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt about it. But the main thing is, certainly me and you, we're both sat here completely content and over the moon with what we achieved.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. That was good work, fellas. That was good work, because I was a bit worried after Macklin's first answer. I'd have to expressly told him that there was to be no fucking about.
To be fair, I've got the needle with you, and I'm not happy with that. that was a lot. When you said it at the top that we were going to do this at the end, I honestly didn't think it was going to be that difficult, but fucking hell, that was hard.
Well, there you go. There you go. When you agreed to come on Macklin's Take, you're letting yourself in for hard-hitting journalism. That's what this podcast is all about.
And I think what I will say about with me and Martin Murray, actually, I think it's a fight that would have been different. I know we're saying hypothetically at the best, but if we look at where we were in our careers, I think, say when I fought Sturm, I think I would have definitely beaten Martin Murray then. But I think later on, say when we were doing the gloves were off, I think he probably would have beaten me then, because it was his time then and I'd gone over the hill. So it's timing as well.
We both worked for Sky, I think. We were pundits when he won the British title, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That's right.
I'm pretty sure we were.
Okay, well, we'll need to leave it there, because Phil Spencer has just knocked on Macklin's door. I can see him looking over his right shoulder. Macklin is going on a celebrity edition of Love It or List It with Phil Spencer and Kirsty Allsop. That is a true story. It will be on your screens before too long. So if you can get over to the audio podcast when Darren's on that's on March the 16th. Look out for that one. It's good fun. And Macklin's just slunk away to his right-hand side just to open the door and let Phil in and tell him to make himself a coffee. Thanks for the continuing support of the YouTube channel. It's early days, but it's growing. We're having a lot of fun with it. So take care, everybody. We'll see you again soon.